What's up, everybody? This is John with John Fair Innovations, bringing you more League of Legends Worlds 2021 content. We have had an amazing tournament so far, and week 2 of groups has been absolutely crazy. We have seen so many upsets. We've seen so many, insane results, and this Worlds continues to deliver. It seems like every game, there's no real definitive conclusion as to who you would expect to win, and I think that makes for a really amazing tournament. Obviously, if you enjoy this video, do make sure you hit that like button, leave comments on what you think, regarding Group C, which is what we've been talking about today. And if you are enjoying the content and want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and check out the playlist specifically for Worlds 2021. Now, obviously, to this video is going to be a bit of a preview to today's sets of matches for Group C. Group C will be having their remaining matches to close out their group to see who will join the teams from Groups A and B who have qualified. I won't go into any real details about Group A and Group B. I do want to do an overall recap of Week 2 all in one video, so I'll be looking to do that after Group D finishes their games. So, of course, as the standings work at the moment, we have Group C, where RNG is 3-0, looking the strongest of the group. We have PSG at 2-1, looking very poised to be able to get out of the group. Harmer Life at 1-2, certainly, very, very much in contention to get out. And with Fnatic being 0-3, needing another Fnatic Week 2 miracle run in order to get out. Now, this group is very heavily contested, even though RNG are 3-0. Out of the 3 teams that were 3-0 after the first week of groups, or the first sets of games of groups, certainly RNG felt the weakest of the 3. Like Darmon and EDG felt a cut above them. RNG, while they did have a 3-0, there were, sloppy moments, there were mistakes, there were, slight comebacks, there were, potentials for the other teams to win. So certainly something RNG will want to tidy up if they are going to make a deep run or potentially win Worlds, as many do expect them to do. Now, RNG, of course, it all starts with Xiaohu in the top lane. I don't know, maybe it's the top laner in me, but I'm not a fan of all the cheese strats he's been doing. The flex solution, the Syndra top. Perhaps that's me. Maybe I'm just a salty top laner, and I don't like all these range matchups, but this is the advantage that you get when you have Xiaohu as your top laner, because as I've said in previous videos, he is the best top laner in the world. That's not even up for debate. And the great part about Xiaohu is not only can he play all these top laners that are meta in the top lane right now, he also has this amazing champion pool from the fact that he was a very top tier mid laner in the LPL. So you will see him pick things like Orianna and Syndra in the top lane and make it work to perfection. So that's what's really scary about Xiaohu, and I think trying to target him in draft is actually a bit of a trap. The same way I see trying to target someone like a Canyon in draft is a bit of a trap, because these players have the ability to professionally play in other roles. We've seen Canyon play mid, we've seen Xiaohu obviously switch from mid to top. So I think, you should really try and target perhaps someone who is not as strong in their champion pool if you're going to go down that path of specifically trying to ban one player out. Of course, as well, RNG, a big reason as to why they won MSI, and a big part of their success obviously falls into their bot lane of Ming and Gala. So these are also 2 players you definitely have to watch when RNG is playing. The meta doesn't seem to suit Gala as much as the MSI meta, I will say. Certainly Gala was a really, really powerful Kai'Sa player, and Misfortune doesn't seem to be as comfortable on Misfortune as he is as opposed to on champions like Aphelios, on Kai'Sa, for example. So, we'll see if RNG continues with Misfortune priorities, or if they just try and like ban these meta ADCs and allow Gala then to be able to, start playing the second tier ADCs that he seems to be a lot stronger on. Ming, of course, we all know how great Ming is. Ming is, he influences the map probably better than any support in the world. And that includes Carrier. I think Carrier plays lane a lot better than Ming. But I think Ming, he always seems to be just, all over the map. And it's really difficult to be able to get much done against RNG, whether it be for vision, picks, objective control. Like Ming just seems to just be absolutely controlling the entire map. And that does also help the fact that he has such a strong individual laner in Gala. Next up, of course, we have PSG. PSG, this is probably the strongest chance that PSG may ever have to get out of groups, given what we've seen of Fnatic. I think I expected PSG to get out of this group second. So at the moment, I still believe RNG will get out of this group first, where I don't think they'll go 6-0 though. They just don't seem to be playing clean enough, and I expect them to drop one game. I expect them to go 5-1, but yeah, I just can't see a world where this RNG, to quote Yamato when he was talking about G2 in 2019, and he said reason why he thought Griffin would beat G2 in the groups was because he just couldn't see a world where, that G2 would go 6-0 in that group. And I feel exactly the same when it comes to RNG in this group. As great as RNG is, and I think RNG could easily win the tournament, I just think they're making so many little mistakes, a little bit loose in their gameplay, and I just think that they're bound to get taken down at least once because of that. Like, one of these teams is going to punish that, and because these three teams are actually pretty good teams, all things considered, and I don't think RNG is that significantly better than them all. But as it stands with PSG, PSG I think have a great chance of getting out of this group. I still believe they'll get out second. I believe in Maple. I think Maple is he would be the strongest mid laner in this group if Harm of Life wasn't there. I'll get to that beast in a sec. But yeah, Maple is an amazing top laner. He was in my top 10 for mid laners in the world, and I still believe that. I think Maple is very underrated because he comes from the PCS. I think if Maple was in the LPL or the LCK, we would look at him very differently. But, we sort of question Maple a little bit because of the level of competition he's against in the PCS. But we saw him at MSI, we see him here. He's having great performances against top tier mid laners. So, if PSG is going to get out of this group, either second or first, depending on how much they can challenge RNG, it is going to be off the back of Maple. When we've seen PSG take games off RNG, at MSI, for example, or their ability to come back in that game against RNG, their very first one, it was off the back of really Maple's exceptional gameplay. So PSG will be really looking for their veteran. One of, if not the, you could make an argument for Maple being the greatest PCS player of all time, but yeah, I guess that's a debate for another day. But the point is, they'll be looking for their great legend to be able to help them make history and get through to the group, to the knockout stage, to quarterfinals. Obviously, Hanabi, I think, is very important. Hanabi is a very good top laner. He's very solid. He's very consistent. And while Hanabi might not necessarily win you games as much as, say, a Maple, I don't think when we look at him in the top lane versus, say, Morgan or Adam, I do expect Hanabi to be a lot more consistent. Hanabi has a very, very, very strong fundamentals, and he has, while his champion pool can be a little bit weak and a little bit targeted, when he is on those comfort picks, he is very, very stable and something that you would expect of the quote-unquote weak side top laner. The phrase that we all like to hear. And Hanabi, I think, is the epitome of that. And PSG will need a strong performance from him because, I think where they can leverage a lot of their strength, especially against Harmer Life and Fnatic, is through Hanabi. So we might see a little bit more carry potential champions on Hanabi in those games because they might see that as a really big mismatch, especially Morgan and Adam compared to Hanabi. Obviously, Xiaohu is a different story. Kai Wing, I think, is a very underrated support. He can at times make you sort of question mark. I think if you were in games with him, there'd be games where you would be question mark pinging him. Sometimes he does some, interesting things, so to speak. But I think that's the nature of support, because I feel like you could say that about Hylissang, Vista. You could even make that argument about Ming sometimes as well. I think that's just the nature of support and how it's expected to be played these days. But when Kai Wing is on comfort, just like Hanabi, he looks very, very strong. Whilst Norla's support is not meta at the moment, I could see them just picking that for him because he is very confident on it. He loves these engaged champions like your Nautiluses, like your Leonas. So PSG, I think, are poised to get out of this group second. Harmer Life, if you are someone who is banking or wanting to see the LCK 4 teams all make it out of the group stage, this is the team that you are sort of most concerned about, I think, before group stage, sort of started. You would have looked at Darm1 and felt like Darm1, obviously best team in the world in many people's opinion, and you would expect them to get out. You would expect, obviously, T1 to get out. You would feel confident that Gen G would be regular season Gen G in that group, in Group D, to be able to get out. But Harmer Life is obviously the one that you would have probably been most concerned about. And they've shown why. They've shown really great gameplay. Some of their games, they play absolutely, brilliant. We saw that against Beyond Gaming, for example. They had some really great games. And then at times, you just see, Morgan get absolutely demolished by Xiaohu. And, all the Morgan is bad memes, come flooding. Group C, Deft, I think, matches really well into these ADCs, not named Gala. Gala, I think, is one of the best ADCs on the planet. So, but certainly against the other ADCs in this group, Deft, we know the legacy of Deft. We know the amazing player that he has been. Certainly, if there was a Hall of Fame in League of Legends, he would be first ballot Hall of Famer. And what's great is that Deft is not someone who is resting on previous success and previous legacy. This tournament, he has actually been really strong. And, certainly through play-ins, he was Harmer Life's best player. And he has continued to play some really, really strong games. I would like Harmer Life to just try and play for Deft a bit more. I think they should really try and get him on his jinx, especially, if they're going to be playing against PSG, I can see them wanting to have like a jinx comp, for example, and really try and punish that bot lane. And because if you're not aware, if you're not familiar, Deft is actually a legacy jinx player, and he is one of, if not the best professional jinxes that has ever graced the game. He has an insane win rate on the champion. I think it's like something over 85%, something like that. Don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, but it's ridiculous how much he wins on that champion. So would really like to see them maybe try that and try and leverage some more leads other than wanting to try and get mid lane and top lane ahead, because Morgan, as serviceable as he's been, obviously he can be picked apart, against someone like a Xiaohu, for example, or even maybe a Hanabi. This could be very difficult for him. Willer, I think, has had a strong tournament. He has surprised people. I don't think people have expected him to play as well as he has. I do, though, see that as the kind of broken strength of Lee Sin at the moment. When Willer is on Lee Sin, he looks like a very different player than when he's on some other champions. He had some good Talia games as well. So he seems to be preferring these champions that can influence lane a lot more, as opposed to ones that sort of farm up and, are meant to individually carry. He seems to enjoy the champions that set up picks and set up plays to get their other lanes ahead for them to eventually take over the game and carry. Though, if we are going to talk about Harm or Life, we have to talk about that beast of the mid lane. To me, the best player in this group. As great as Xiaohu is as a top laner, Chovy, to me, is the best player in this group. Perhaps maybe that's my Church of Chovy bias, but the guy is phenomenal, and he continues to show why he is so phenomenal. He is the best laner perhaps we've ever seen. I've said this in a previous video. When his career is all said and done, we will honestly have debates about who possibly was a better laner than Chovy. Chovy just, his minion control, his CSing, the tiniest advantages that he gets, that he is able to just incrementally grow. And then next thing you know, he has like a 1,000 gold lead, and he hasn't even, there's been no deaths mid lane, but he somehow has 500 gold, 1,000 gold lead in the mid lane, because he's just, CSing perfectly, taking these amazing trades, getting, cheater recalls off, getting plates. It's just the guy, and he does it on his own. He doesn't get, believe it or not, Willer doesn't actually gank for him that much. Watch Humble Life's games. Willer doesn't really help Chovy get ahead. Most of the time, Willer, when he comes to mid lane, it's kind of covering for the counter gank, because everyone is trying to just dump on Chovy. And we saw in the Fnatic game, everyone just kept coming mid. Everyone just kept attacking mid. And he was in the matchup where he was the Yasuo into the Ryze. And the Ryze, obviously being range, should have a strong lane against the Yasuo. Yasuo needs, a few items, maybe Merc Treads, for example, to start being able to, trade back a bit more, because Ryze's range, Ryze's abilities, the bouncing maneuvers, bouncing spells, can really just make Yasuo's life a living hell. And on top of that, Adam was ganking, jungle was ganking, support was ganking, and yet somehow, not only did Niski not get ahead, Chovy got ahead. I don't get it. I honestly don't get. I don't get how Chovy can just be that good, that he can have that much attention against him in a matchup he's meant to lose early, and he still comes out ahead. That's just how great he plays mid lane. That's just how great of a laner he is. And honestly, if Humble Life is going to get out of this group, if they're going to either force it to a tiebreaker or get out of this group second, I can't see them. Just as I can't see RNG going 6-0, I can't see a world where Humble Life has a day where they go 3-0 or 4-0 or something like that. To me, that would blow my mind. That would be the most craziest thing I've ever seen, if Humble Life just had a day where they went 4-0 or 3-0, something like that, and they ended up first in the group. I don't know. I'd be shocked. I do think there is a world where they can really get out of this group, though, because I think teams are going to punish Fnatic a little bit. So it will depend on if Fnatic can play spoiler. But yeah, I do expect Harmalife to not make it out of this group. I did say RNG, PSG 1 and 2 before we knew everything that was going on with Fnatic. And I continue to believe that it will be RNG and PSG as 1 and 2, depending on what I've seen, with Harmalife now being third. Of course, that leads us now to Fnatic. Fnatic have had a disappointing tournament, you would say. Obviously, there is a lot going on that we don't know about. I'm not going to comment on that. All I will say is that, like, for all the parties that are involved, I hope nothing but the best and my love and support for you going through these difficult times. Now, in regards to the gameplay itself, Fnatic do seem a little bit lost on the Rift. They had a really interesting strategy against Harmalife to try and get Willa so far ahead and get Whippo so far behind and get Whippo so far ahead, and then use that advantage to just all in, do everything you can to get Chovy behind. It was an interesting strategy, but in the end, the fact that Chovy 1v4 that lane is a testament to Chovy and how great he is. And then obviously Fnatic then lost advantages. Morgan got strong, Deft got strong, and yeah, it was just too much for them in the end. Fnatic, I don't think they'll go 0-6. I do expect them to take a game. We might see them play a little bit better once the pressure is off, once they're probably eliminated. So when they're maybe 0-4, 0-5, we might see their best game then, because they're just literally playing for pride at that point. And you see a lot of teams play a lot better once they have that pressure alleviated from them. If they are going to win a game, we need to see more from Hylissang. Hylissang is their star player. He is their best player on the team, and we need to see more from him. Maybe bring out maybe a Pyke, for example. We know how good it is. Something that he can carry on, because things like the Brom, as strong as they are in the meta right now, it just seems like it doesn't allow Hylissang to be able to carry. And I think Fnatic, if they're going to be able to win a game, or potentially make a miracle run, definitely it's going to have to be off the back of Hylissang. Whippo seems a bit off. I know there's a lot of rumors about Whippo. I'm not going to comment on that, but his gameplay does seem a little bit off. I did say, however, before the tournament, before we knew any of the drama, that I was worried about how Whippo would go against some of these other junglers, because I thought something in the LEC that didn't happen to him enough was that their junglers weren't punishing his inexperience in the jungle enough. And that's something that, we're starting to see happen in these games against Harmalife, against PSG, against RNG. Because you look at the advantage he got, for example, against Willa. He got an amazing... He took literally all of Willa's topside camps. He took his red buff, I'm pretty sure, as well. Like, Willa had nothing to farm. He was down something ridiculous. I think it was like 70 CS. Now, you tell me, like, the advantage that Whippo got against Willa. Now, imagine if you replace Whippo with, say, Canyon, for example, or even someone like Blabber, for example. How do you think that game then goes? Like, no way does Harmalife even have a chance to come back in that game. Willa doesn't get to play the game. Like, if you're that far behind that early against a jungler of like the quality of someone like Canyon, for example, the game's over. The game's done. The fact that Whippo wasn't able to leverage that into a snowball, into a victory, kind of shows he's still learning a lot about jungle in a professional scene. I'm not saying Whippo's playing bad. I think he's playing very serviceably, especially given the fact that he isn't, originally a jungler. This is his first split as jungle, swapping from top lane. So I'm not trying to say anything too bad against him, because I understand that situation. But it is something of a concern for Fnatic that, their jungler got that much of a lead and wasn't able to leverage that lead into something of significance for Fnatic. Niski, again, Niski is also someone they play a lot for. You see Adam roam a lot for him. We see Hylissang roam a lot for him. And he's getting a lot of resources put into him, but he's not really rewarding the rest of his team with those resources, which is something that we didn't see in the LEC. When Adam roamed for him, when Hylissang roamed for him, when Whippo ganked for him, we saw Niski be able to return the favor. But we're starting to sort of see with Niski, when he's not on Twisted Fate, he's not as strong, or he's not as certainly terrifying as a mid laner as he was in the LEC. And it just seems like once you take it, whether you take the TF for yourself or you simply ban it, Niski just seems like a completely different player. Even on something like a Rise, for example, he just doesn't seem to have as much roam and map presence as he does when he's on Twisted Fate. So, if Fnatic are going to get some wins, if they're going to make that Fnatic Week 2 miracle run, they need to get Niski on Twisted Fate, or if not, something that he is very comfortable on, because at the moment he just seems like he's getting outperformed by, Cryan, Maple, and of course, Chovy. I do expect Fnatic to come fourth in this group, though. I'm not expecting much out of them. Hope to see them get a win. Hope to see them, showcase why they were able to make Worlds in the first place. But yeah, very difficult situation for them. Obviously, if you're a Fnatic fan, you're looking for RNG to go 6-0. You want them to go 6-0, and then you sort of want Harmer Life, I guess, to beat PSG, and then you want to be able to go 3-0 on your day, which of course would lead to crazy tiebreakers, which we know how good Fnatic are in tiebreakers, and that's obviously where you want to go there. Harmer Life, you want RNG to beat PSG. You would love for Fnatic to beat PSG as well, but as long as you take care of business with PSG and Fnatic, and RNG also beat PSG, you should at least get a tiebreaker. PSG will be looking to take care of business. Their game against Harmer Life, I think they will consider that to be the most important of the day. Winning that one pretty much guarantees them getting out of the group, assuming Fnatic don't go 3-0. And of course, RNG will be looking to just make sure they get at least beat PSG, and then make sure they get because I think if they beat PSG, they'll automatically qualify out of the group. And then if they beat Harmer Life and PSG, then they're guaranteed first. Well, there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know your comments below, what you think. Who do you expect to get out of this group? Do you believe Xiaohu is going to dominate and RNG is going to go 6-0? Do you see PSG making history and getting out of the group stage, which would be, I think, the first time the PCS has ever made it out of groups. I just can't remember if Flash Wolves have ever made it out or not. But yeah, it certainly would be history, because whether it's the first time or at least it'd be the first time in a very long time. Harmer Life, do you believe in the Church of Chovy and, his ability to be able to get Harmer Life and, make the dream for Korean team get out, the four Korean team dream quarterfinal stage? Do you believe that that dream is still alive with the Church of Chovy? Or, of course, do you believe in the week 2 Fnatic buff, them being able to make the miracle run and getting out of this group? Well, that's it for me today. Stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you next time.